What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining in on another episode of Age of Quarantine. I'm your host, Chris Enriquez. I play in the band Spotlights. I also play in Primitive Weapons. I work at Revolver Magazine. I'm good friends with everybody at the St. Vitus camp, trying to help them out. Right now, they're working on a Kickstarter. It's a tough time for them, but you can donate. Their Venmo is St. Vitus Bar with dashes in between. Anyway, tonight, we've been doing these interviews every night, and if you go on YouTube and search Christopher Enriquez, you can watch episodes you've missed. I've interviewed, my co-host Dave Castillo and I have collectively interviewed members of Russian Circles, Incendiary, my own band Spotlights, and yesterday we had King Woman and Isaac from Brave Young, and we're going to keep it going throughout the quarantine. Tonight I have the honor of speaking to my good friend Ben Weinman, known as the guitar player for Dillinger Escape Plan, Giraffe Tongue Orchestra, and also he's playing in Suicidal Tendencies and owns Party Smasher Inc. I see that he has joined and is watching, and people are already submitting questions, but Ben, if you're watching, send me a request so you can join in so I can get you on camera here. I'll just hang out for a second. If I don't see the request to join me pop in, I will most likely take a second and hey Ben, what's up, man? I see you on there. There should be something on there so you could request to join me. When I see that request come in, I'll approve it, and then you will end up on the screen. So if you just look down there somewhere, you should see it. Request to join chat. I'll hang tight here, guys. So we're just waiting for Ben to join us. Ben, I'll talk to you through here. So you should see a thing that says request to join right above your name, and if you hit that, I will get a notification. Once I hit to approve the notification, you will give us a second here as Ben joins us. Looks like it should be working.
I'm here.
All right. Hell yeah.
What's up?
How are you, Ben?
I'm good. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you great. This is perfect. It looks great too. We are live on the St. Vitus Instagram channel in front of a bunch of people right now. Thanks for joining me. How's life treating you right now through all this insanity that's going on?
In some ways it hasn't changed much. In some ways it's changed a lot. I'm pretty much a homebody aside from when I'm out with Suicidal. So I've been home a lot anyway, and there's always tons to do here at the compound. But it's like the music business is just on a halt, and all the Suicidal shows are canceled, all the Artists I Manage shows are canceled. Everything's it's interesting, like bands are having new albums out and you don't even hear about it because we're just listening to so much news and trying to figure out what the fuck's going on, Yeah, but we're holding together. How about you, man?
I'm actually I'm working from home. I like you. I do a lot of stuff on my own. So working from home hasn't changed much. It's affected us a little bit. It's what's interesting is obviously live entertainment is taking a huge hit right now, but in a strange way, people are supporting artists more in different ways. Some people are listening to music more. Some people are making more music, and there are people like us who are doing this. We've been doing this for like a week and a half now, and so people are getting creative.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, aside from the live entertainment part, everything else, I don't know. I see some benefits, but I do want to get through this because it does suck. Whoa, hey, that's supposed to be me.
Oh,
That is supposed to be
I'm
me.
sorry. I'm
You know
sorry.
about the clown face. I'm guessing you know about the clown face. Probably a lot of people watching that don't know about the clown face. So this is how it's going to work, Ben. I mean,
All
I
right.
have questions, but we're in front of a live audience, and
Okay.
Post Malone over here. Guys, if you want to ask a question, there's a little button on the bottom of the screen, and it's easier for me if you submit a question. I see one person has done that so far. If you want to leave comments and talk to each other, that's cool, but it's just easier for me if you submit your questions properly, and I'll get to them. I see person's done so, but I'm going to ask a couple of my own first.
Look at that.
Yeah, man.
Whoa, I see your porn. You didn't close your porn window.
Oh, that is
Just
not
kidding.
good. That is not what I meant to do. Damn it. Damn it. There we go. Damn it. All right, here we go. Damn it. What the fuck is going on here? All right, fail.
Ben 69. I know, Rat.
You said you're a homebody. I know you have an animal sanctuary over there. I bet the
Yeah.
animals must be stoked that they have more time with you, huh?
They do. Let me go ask one. Hold on.
Uh-oh, who's there? Whoa! Yeah, this guy was coming prepared, man. Dude, is it hard to remember all their names?
No, I mean, no, they all have such distinct personalities. The sheep are a little difficult because they're kind of like, they have less personalities.
Yeah, yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, like, they're either super loving or they're like real jerks, or I have a friend of me, a rooster right now, that's like, he attacks me every morning, but then I'll pick him up and we spend like an hour hanging out, walking around, and I put him down and he'll like, bite me.
I met your rooster. I was kind of backing up when I was chilling with your rooster. It kind of freaks me out a little bit.
Yeah, they're crazy.
Have out there?
Probably around 70, between 70, 80 maybe right now.
That's unbelievable. And so you and your wife go out and feed them every day and do it all yourself, or do you have any help, or is there a system there?
No, it's just me, actually. She's pretty busy with her job and she's pretty exhausted by the time she gets home. So I have the luxury of being able to kind of make my own schedule. So it's just me. When I go away on tour, I have somebody help, but otherwise it's just me.
I love that, man. I love that. I went there once or twice actually, and it's just such a cool vibe. I've never seen anything like that. I'm gonna get to some questions because I'm already getting overloaded. Okay. I have 4 questions. I'm gonna ask as many of them as I can. This is the most I've gotten on any episode within the first 5 minutes. All right.
Oh, questions?
All right. So Sandra Cremens says, when was the point in your life when you thought, yeah, I did it, this is what I dreamed of?
It's a really good question. There's a couple milestones, and honestly, probably like signing our first record deal with Relapse Records was honestly farther than I ever thought I would ever get in this business. It was a label we respected greatly. We loved a lot of the bands on there. In the scene, it was considered kind of like a real label, like like a real metal label, which was kind of elite in those days. Like you could sign to a hardcore label, but if you got signed to like an Earache or a Relapse, it was like next level. And Relapse was obviously the coolest of all of them, putting out like really innovative, like grindcore and interesting experimental stuff and Merzbow albums. And even, they were the US distribution for Meshuggah for many years. So, that was the biggest milestone. I was talking to my wife the other day, and she was asking if I miss it and stuff like that. And I said I don't, but what I miss was the first 3 or 4, honestly 2 years, the first 2 years. I remember every club, the smell of every club in those first 2 years more than I remember, a club or a show from, a year ago. Because it was so important in my life back then, and so hard, and so many rites of passage, and it was just exciting.
It's interesting to hear you say that, because I obviously have seen Dillinger Escape Plan. I can't even count how many times, mainly because we toured with you guys around.
Yeah.
But to go back to what you were saying, I'll never forget the first time I saw you play, which was when no one really knew who you were. And this, I don't even know if I've ever told you this, but those shows back then are hard to forget because when you kind of like, I'm going to be 40. I think you're kind of in the similar
23.
yeah. So, but those times when you kind of like end up seeing stuff accidentally, like when I saw Dillinger Escape Plan, I wasn't going to see you guys. It was just I was just there. It was at a place called Deja One in Long Island.
Oh yeah.
Or show. This is like right when your first release ever came out, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you played a Slayer cover at the show. This is how long ago it was.
Yeah, like sometimes people would, as they do, yell Slayer or something like that, and so we just kind of at that time would like bust into Slayer. I actually learned all of Freebird too, but the rest of the band wouldn't do it.
No, but it's cool because, like you said, like Relapse, another label back then was Hydra Head.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think that, and I'm assuming this. I don't think when you're playing whatever kind of music we're talking about, which is extreme music, that you ever think that you're gonna make it big time. So, like you said, when you end up on a label like Relapse, that's like a really important milestone. You're just like, shit, like it's legitimate.
Yeah.
So that's
for
cool.
sure. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the bands during that time, and you can attest to this, that you consider successful, I guess in the grand scheme of things, weren't really that big, but for us, seeing 200-300 people in a small club was insane. I remember seeing, bands in New York, like a packed hardcore show, like Dead Guy 108, Bloodlet,
yeah,
Earth Crisis or something, and there'd be like 300 people there, and that was a stadium show to me. That was more than I could ever imagine playing in front of. So
let me ask you something too, because everyone's you're touching upon a lot I was going to get to, and Dead Guy. When I saw you guys, one of the first things I thought to myself was, "Wow, these guys sound like Dead Guy," and I think Dead Guy broken up at that point, and over the years, you guys kind of developed into and morphed into like way more other things. But would you say like when Dillinger was starting out, and when you were kind of coming up with the identity,
mm-hmm.
what were the bands that were kind of your inspiration or model? Like Dead Guy, I'm assuming had to have been one of them.
Definitely. I mean, it was kind of like some of the guys in the first incarnation of the band were playing like really technical kind of music, like technical death metal tech stuff. And I was listening to some of that stuff like Fusion, and I love Cynic. That was kind of a tie that bound me and Chris Penny together, as we both loved that band Cynic, which nobody really heard of.
Yeah.
Which was like a couple guys that, at the time played on like one of the Death albums that was amazing. And into like Mahavishnu Orchestra and King Crimson and stuff like that. But I think I was maybe I was more like a punk rock blues player.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like when I started playing with some of those guys and we merged, like me and Demetri were playing together, and then Chris and Adam and John Fulton, our first, guitar player, were playing together. So when me and Demetri kind of pulled them in, we were finding our way, and part of what was important to us, because we were so angry about everything at the time. You're young, everything sucks, everything's outward, and you're yelling at everyone, and you want to express yourself in that way. We weren't part of any scene. We could never, our old bands, no one ever cared about them. I'd literally give demos to label people, and they'd throw in the garbage in front of me. So kind of the violence and the angst of like the Dead Guy and that hardcore scene was really important to us, like just the visceral kind of thing. And so obviously I think when we first started, that was a huge influence on our sound. And then as we started to come to terms and accept some of our other influences that weren't necessarily always accepted in the punk and hardcore scene, and just say, this is us, we really started to form what was then, what most people consider the Dillinger sound. So
there was and just for anybody watching, and then Ben, if you want to fill in any blanks during that time, that you were starting. There were so many good bands. I mean, some of them are still around, like Converge, obviously, but Coalesce was another great band. Was coming up with you guys, and I think Sean sang with you guys at a couple shows in when right, Sean Ingram.
Yeah, we did one show, this cool festival that was called Crazy Fest in Louisville, Kentucky. We did one special show with Sean Ingram on vocals.
Yeah, there's a lot of gems out there, guys. If you you like that old Dillinger stuff and you want to do some deep diving, check some of those bands out. Let me get to some of these other questions because they're piling up. Okay. Okay, let's get to some good ones here. What was Ben's favorite Dillinger Escape Plan song to play live? John Me. What's up, John Me? Long Island.
What's up, John Me?
Yeah.
Represent. Well, I have to say, like, the Limerent Death, the first song off our last album, was a really important song for me, and it was one of the things that made playing shows 20 years into my career enjoyable, because it made me feel like I felt when I first started that song. And every now and again in our catalog and through the years, there would be something that live would really pull that out of me again. And so I can say right off the bat that Limerent Death off Dissociation, the last album, was like just really, it just did something to me. Like, it just brought out real honest energy, and that was definitely one of them. I'd say, like, Panasonic Youth was always really fun. So yeah, those are some of them.
Cool. Backtracking before I move on to the next question, but you and Demetri released a song on January 1st. Can you tell us a little bit about that project, how it came about, and anything that you can share? Obviously, I'm sure there's...
Sure. Yeah, no, like, actually, that was something we had worked on, honestly, years ago when Dillinger was still a band. Demetri's still one of my best friends, and he moved to Seattle, but when he was in town, we'd get together, and we just started messing around, and we made that song. He sang on it, and then he took off, and I just kind of had it. And we hung out one day. He was home for holidays or whatever, and we realized, wow, that was really cool. We should do something with that. And I'm like, well, let's see, put it out on the Patreon, you know. And the response was completely unexpected. And we have other stuff that's not finished, but now I think that's given us the incentive to maybe finish it, because, again, it brought us back to those early days where we were just friends having fun without any real expectations. So, yeah, it was fun.
It's a great time for angry music too. I mean, there's no shortage of it, but we need more shit right now.
Yeah.
I mean, besides the obvious stuff that's going on, but
yeah.
Let's see what else we got here. Ben, let's sing "Happy Birthday to You." Was it your birthday the other day? What is this person talking about?
No, it was my daughter's birthday.
Oh, happy birthday to your daughter, man! That's awesome.
Thanks, man.
Okay, I heard stories about pranks y'all did to each other while on tour with Botch in Europe.
Yeah.
Ryan James Hairstyle wants to know about the pranks you guys pulled on Botch in Europe.
Well, the big prank was actually in the U.S. tour before Europe, when we went on tour with Jesuit and Botch. It was really our first real tour. And
Jesuit, Nate from Converge's band. Yeah,
so Jesuit was Brian Benoit, our old guitar player, and Nate, Converge's bass player. They were in a band together, and it was interesting because after that tour kind of like just took them apart, and like Brian came to Dillinger and he went to Converge, and it's kind of like we absorbed Jesuit, the two bands, But man, it was like, I mean, the worst prank was that I took a shit in a cup and hid it in Botch's van in like August, and it took him 2 weeks to find it. Yeah,
and
to Took them like 2 weeks to find it,
Oh
and
my God.
apparently, like, yeah, I mean, they had done all kinds of stuff throughout the whole tour, and were just clowning around and stuff. And I always have to take it one next level, you know. But
Oh my God.
but we had left the tour, so it was kind of chicken shit, and I left it in a cup with a little note. Thanks for putting up with all our shit, and hid it in their van. And apparently, I know this because Nate was with them from Converge, because they continued on Jesuit with those guys, and we went off to play like our first Milwaukee Metal Fest. But he said at they found the whole van smelled. They couldn't figure it out. They washed all their laundry. They were going through all their food bags. Like, it was torturous for them. And then finally they found the cup, and Brian from Botch, who also you guys interviewed, right?
We actually interviewed. That's the best part about this is he was on the first episode, which was on Monday of this week. So,
yeah.
That's fucking amazing. Unbelievable. I wish that we spoke to you before we spoke to him, because that would have been great shit to pick up.
I mean, yeah, that was pretty bad.
Cool. All right. So somebody else here wants to know. Okay, Andrew from the Dillinger compound. What up, dude?
Andrew Daly, represent. Happy birthday, Andrew. Today's his birthday, I think. Yeah.
Oh, before I get to this question, I just promised my friend who is actually sick at home with the coronavirus. Christian Colabelli in Jersey from Eventide Guitar Pedals, great guitar company.
Oh, right, yeah.
He is a huge Dillinger Escape Plan fan. He's at home, laid out. He's not doing well. So shout out to Christian Colabelli at Eventide, and we
shout out Christian, man, hang in there.
Andrew Daly wants to know, would you ever do a collaboration with Steve Austin? I'm assuming that you were talking about Steve Austin from Today Is the Day.
Yeah, I think so. Absolutely. He's a good friend. We talk every now and again. Today's the Day was a huge inspiration and influence on Dillinger. Those early albums were really a big part of our sound, to be honest with you. And I think one of the things I love so much about Today's the Day and Steve Austin was when you first would look at those old Amphetamine Records albums, there'd be a picture of him, and he was just like some dude in like the South or whatever, wearing like a button-down white shirt and short hair. And at that time, that wasn't very common with heavy music. He was just some guy. He was just some guy. And then you turned on the music, and it sounded like he was literally swallowing glass. It was horrifying sounding, and the musicianship, the innovation, it was so good, man. And yeah, absolutely.
I just saw it. Well, actually, funny enough, one of the last shows I saw was Today's the Day with the Obsessed a couple weeks ago, right when this shit went down, and they were great.
Crazy.
He's still doing it, man. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
We got some other good ones here. So they're asking more questions.
Hit me.
Yeah. What's up?
Hit me with some questions. Give me some good stuff.
Let's see. Which band? This is some bait. You can skip this one if you want, but which band does Dillinger absolutely hate playing with? From JJ John L.
Oh man, why you get all negative?
All right, let's not go there.
I can't think. I gotta think.
Well, you know what? Hold on. Let me help you here. And I don't know how you guys are politically and stuff, but did you see that Riley from Power Trip, who's actually going to be on the show? He just started trolling the guys from Trapped. Did you see that whole thing on Twitter?
Yeah, that was him. I saw there was something about Trapped getting trolled. That guy started or something?
Well, no, Riley admitted that he started it because it was just funny because he was just fucking with him. But the lead, I don't know that much about Trapped. I've heard their one-hit wonder song, but I guess the lead singer, went off on some pro-Trump rants and defending the government and all this shit. And he was just relentless on Twitter. And Riley, like, I mean, we're all bored. We got nothing better to do, right? So he's just like, fuck it, and just started fucking with
him.
And he took it to a level where he started doing screenshots Do you remember the beef between 50 Cent and Ja Rule, where Ja Rule went on tour and 50 Cent was doing screenshots of shows at like empty venues and
Yeah, yeah.
so Riley basically did the same thing to Trapped, and
Oh,
and was like and goes, uh, "We'll outdraw you any day, anytime, even in your hometown, and if you're up for the challenge, we can do it on the same day and donate the charities like the money to a charity."
wow.
And then showed a picture of Power Trip playing in front of like 1,000 people and a
Right,
recent Trap show in like some like weird amphitheater with like
right.
empty. So I don't know if you
Yeah.
ever anybody like that or if you were ever like it, but is there a
I
breakup that you
mean,
sucks or
troll. I mean, that was kind of Greg's thing, you know.
okay,
I Yeah, man. I mean, honestly, it's like if I don't really know bands like if like I don't really listen to bands I don't like or something. You know what I mean? So I don't. They're not really on my radar. You know,
yeah, right. I
unless
mean,
it's like I'm not following something like Trap. I would never see Trap things. I would never, you know. But there's really no bands we hated playing with because we were really selective, and like we'd always pick the bands we toured with. We didn't do a whole lot of support tours, and we probably wouldn't support a band we didn't at least dig to some degree. So yeah, I can't really say there was any bands I hated playing with.
well, speaking of tours, actually, let me get to one of my questions. You did the last Soundgarden tour, which had to have been a trip when you like, obviously when you were on it, you weren't
Yeah,
anticipating, but and you toured with them a few times,
yeah,
right?
yeah. We
Yeah.
did Nine Inch Nails, Soundgarden, and then we were doing that last Soundgarden, and yeah, definitely have some history with those guys.
What are your what's one of your favorite memories from touring with Soundgarden?
Oh man, I can say that my my most interesting and most vivid memory was the last Cornell, singing that last show we were at before I woke up the next morning to the call that the tour was canceled and that, he killed himself, which was a complete shock and hard to believe. I'd just seen him. He sounded great. He looked great. It was really hard to believe that in the middle of a tour that would happen, But I do remember sitting on stage the night before and like really enjoying it because I love the songs, really noticing how great his voice sounded, but also saying to my friend standing next to me, like, you know what? All this, I was looking out the amphitheater filled with people singing along. It's not enough. That's just not enough. It's not enough to make me happy. Like I could have, 8,000 people, 20,000 people singing Dillinger songs back to me, and that's not enough to be happy. It just hit me like, like without a support group, without family, without friends, without health, none of that fame shit matters, man. None of that stuff matters. And it was really like a realization that the last Dillinger stuff was the right decision, for me in my life right then. And the next day, even with all that fame and all that stuff, I guess it wasn't enough for him either. I don't know the circumstances and no one really will, but
It's true, and a lot of people that haven't, most people haven't experienced what it's like to be on tour for years, and even myself, like I think about it sometimes too. I'm not nearly in a position as large as where you were at with Dillinger and what you're doing, but it's so strange to think that like you spend 23 hours a day just for the 1 hour of enjoyment.
yeah, exactly,
That's
exactly.
that dawned on me recently. I'm like, man, like I'm just sitting around doing nothing.
Yeah,
You can find stuff
yeah,
to do, but like it can get real weird when you realize
yeah.
that like you're like basically just like waiting to just go do
Waiting all
something.
day. Yeah,
You know, um,
it can get dark, man. It's definitely hard to imagine until you're really in that position for a number of years and stuff like that. But yeah,
let me bring you to a happier place here.
all right.
Dillinger played some memorable shows at St. Vitus, which is very appropriate right now to talk about because
Yeah.
St. Vitus is going through some tough times. And I
Yes.
mentioned one of the reasons I'm doing this is not just to keep people engaged and entertained and just to talk to people, but I also want to encourage people, if you can, I know we're all struggling, but if you can, St. Vitus could use your help, and you can donate, and there's a Venmo account. We're working on a Kickstarter, but
Yeah, please do. There's the rent is paid, the staff is paid, the orders have been made for drinks and supplies, and like without shows, an amazing venue like Vitus can't continue without your help. So if you can do that, that would be amazing.
Absolutely. Let's make this like the 2-3 part question. So you've played there with Dillinger. You did some other cool stuff on 2 Minutes to Late Night. Shout out to Kenny Hall and the Utility Man guys. But you also did the Metal Injection Party recently, where you collaborated with a lot of folks. What are your favorite memories from St. Vitus over the years?
Man, I remember we played at Vitus one day, starting a tour, and it was my birthday. That was fun. It was kind of weird, like, I don't know. I feel like I got like, I don't know. It was a memorable one for sure. But dude, I mean, so many, man. I going to see Godmother there after the last Dillinger show.
Yeah.
And just walking around the crowd as just a dude, not in a band, but watching a band I dig and I work with. That was really interesting and really memorable. Yeah. So, but I mean, every show we played there was just insane. It was insane.
Well, who did you collaborate with at the Metal Injection anniversary party? You did some cover songs with.
Yeah, man. A lot of my friends, like John LaMacchia and Mike from Candier and Dave from Dave Davison and Frank from Metal Injection and just a bunch of dudes. Mrs. Smith on the shredding guitar.
Amazing. I wasn't there, but I watched the whole thing online, and I just heard some promo. But I saw Alex Skolnick was up there. Billy
Skolnick, another one of my favorites. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when you were growing up in Jersey, obviously there was a lot of legendary spots. Like everyone says that Vitus, including myself, is kind of like a modern day CBD. What were the venues for you growing up in New Jersey and New York that were sort of dear to your heart?
Yeah, so there was one venue in like Morris County, New Jersey, or in the area where I grew up, called Obsessions. And it was the local club, and you had to pay to play kind of thing. If you sold more tickets, you got to play higher up. So everyone was just, rich kids would play better slots because they'd sell the tickets to their moms or their cousins, that whole thing. And so we just struggled. We would do everything to try and play those shows, and then the guy Bill, who owned the club, would just push us to sell tickets. And I saw amazing shows. I saw Entomb there. It was really a cool place, and it was really satisfying when years later Bill called me to see if Dillinger would play there, and I told him he can't afford us.
That's amazing, man. So you just mentioned, speaking of bands, legendary bands you grew up on, Suicidal Tendencies, one of those bands that I'm sure
one of the first.
That's too. Yeah, same. I found out about them through Gleaming the Cube. You remember that skateboard movie?
Wait a minute, real quick. Someone just asked me about playing at the Victory Record store in Chicago. I just see that. How the hell does this person even know about that? How was it playing at the Victory Record store in Chicago?
Wow.
That's crazy. That was so long ago. And it was it was at the time when everyone, like, Victory was really taking advantage of bands, and there was a lot of negativity around it. And I remember we played there, and I jammed my guitar through the wall and then peed in the wall.
Oh my God.
So that's how it was playing the Victory Record store in Chicago. But the staff there was actually really nice. The people working there were great. and I was just a dumb kid. So
uh,
anyway, go back to your question.
no. How did you end up in Suicidal?
Oh, well, first of all, I have to say that suicidal tendencies may single-handedly be responsible for me listening to heavy music, because I was a skateboarder when I was a kid, and there were skateboarders that listened to like thrash and punk, and then there were skateboarders that listened to like new wave, like Susie and the Banshees and The Cure and Depeche Mode, and I was that. Like, all I listened to was Depeche Mode and The Cure and like Nitzareb and like all that stuff. And then I would go to this half pipe down the street with these older kids, and they would be playing Suicidal Tendencies, which was a huge skateboarding band with Mike Muir's brother being an original Z-Boy and being a founder of Dogtown Skates. So I started listening to Suicidal Tendencies, and that brought me into thrash and everything else, and really just started me on that kind of music. So to then get the call from Mike Muir to join the band, it was like, well, kind of was trying not to be on a band anymore, but I got to do this, I got to do this.
I was pumped when I saw that you were playing with them. It's unbelievable. And it's been over a year, what is it, a year or two now? How long has it been?
Yeah, I mean, we play so selective shows, but man, it's been a year and a half at least.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if you can get into this, and you have to pass the question. It's cool, but are you going to be doing any new music with Suicidal?
He likes to re-record old stuff a lot. And I have played on some old stuff, kind of reinvigorated a little bit, and with Dave Lombardo and Ra and the new guys. But whether we're going to do new music or not is still to be determined. I can't really answer that at this point. But
all right, we're going to get to another question here from Jillian L. If you had the chance to form your own supergroup, who would you choose?
My own supergroup, man. Probably be like this guy Liam Wilson on bass. This guy from this band Hard, Billy Reimer on drums. This guy Greg. But supergroup, man, I don't know. I'd probably just... Man, I've had the opportunity to play with some of my heroes, man. It's so hard, like...
Well, Giraffe Orchestra, it's a great one.
Giraffe Tongue, man. Two of my favorite drummers of all time played on the album. One of my best friends, Brent Hines, and sorry?
Was that Thomas Pridgeon on drums?
Yeah, Thomas Pridgeon, and then we did a little bit with John Theodore as well. And then I played at some point with Eric Avery from James Addiction in that group, and I played with The Prodigy, which was The Prodigy was a great band. I loved The Prodigy coming up. God, I mean, I'd probably... it'd be like Richard D. James from Aphex Twin, like Dave Gahan from Depeche Mode. What?
Nails. He played with Nine Inch Nails, too.
Yeah, I mean, I got to play with the Nine Inch Nails guys. Man, I really have kind of played with a lot of my heroes, so... I'm not really into supergroups, I just want to play with fun. At this point in my life, it's like, who do you get along with? What kind of chemistry do you have? That's it.
Yeah. We got another question from the Pineapple Queen wants to know, are there any new bands following the footsteps of Dillinger Escape Plan that you can recommend?
Well, I mean... I'm proud to say that, like, I've never heard a band that really sounds exactly like Dillinger, which makes me feel like we truly have our imprint and our sound. But there are obviously bands that have had influence and are doing their own thing and have listened to us. But, like, even, I think a band Godmother, who doesn't necessarily sound like us, but when I see them play live and I see their work ethic and their attitude of, like, just give 1,000% every show. Don't worry about what time we're playing. Don't worry about how many people are standing in front of you. Just give it your all. As if there's a billion people or one person, it doesn't matter. And like that band truly embodies that attitude, which is definitely what this band was brought up on.
Yeah.
So I can say Godmother definitely has the attitude of a Dillinger Escape Plan, from what I can tell.
Yeah, they're guys. If you haven't checked out Godmother yet, they're from Sweden. They're an amazing band. They're super aggressive and just you have to listen to it for yourself. It's hard to kind of like even compare it to anything. But Ben put out their latest record on Party Smasher, so you could go online and pick that up or stream it. But those guys are also just sweethearts. So you know, you should check them out and support them. We have a question here from I don't even know how to pronounce this guy's screen name. Scuds wants to know, what was working with Mike Patton like? I can't even imagine the creative energy that went on into making Good Dogs.
Yeah, there was some energy in the room for sure. I mean, I could say there was a couple moments that were really memorable. One was when I went by I think it was a Tomahawk show, and I just stopped in the back alley, and he like handed me a tape with our songs that I had given him instrumentals to, with gibberish vocals on it. There wasn't lyrics yet, but it was like all phrasings and stuff, and I put it in the car, and I was like, whoa, I'm hearing my favorite singer on my music. Like, this is blowing me away, you know. And then the other memorable moments was just being in the room with him and him like actually taking some of my suggestions, and just the level of dynamics and diversity he was able to muster up instantly, like opera into like, it was effortless. You never hit a wrong note, and every idea was good.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much what it was like. Yeah.
It's he is so talented. It's ridiculous. My band just opened up for Mr. Bungle a couple weeks ago before all this shit
Oh, that's
happened.
right. How was that?
It was amazing, dude. I mean, obviously they were playing the early material that not many people knew. Like, you mean pre-dated any
Right,
album?
which they re-recorded.
Yes, they are re-recording that now. That's public with Scott Ian on guitar and Dave Lombardo on drum. Your buddy.
Pretty exciting.
Dude, it was sick. I don't know how many people are gonna give a shit about this, but just as a person from New York that grew up on a lot of New York hardcore shit, it was such a cool thing to see Harley Flanagan from the Cro-Mags get up and do Malfunction with them. Like we weren't expecting that. So that was a treat.
Shit. Yeah.
Yeah, they did a lot of cover songs on top of like 7 Seconds and Exploited. So I don't know, it was just cool, man.
Yeah.
It was packed, and we got to hang out with Mike, and I'm on his label, but I don't know him that well, so it was the third time I ever met him. But, yeah, man. I think I've told you this in person, but after the Mike Patton collab that you guys did, I was at the first show when you guys were revealing your new singer at the time, which obviously ended up being Greg. And goddamn, man, I remember sitting there at CMJ. It was in Midtown Manhattan, and like, no one knew, and it was like before social media, and everyone was like, who the fuck is it?
Yeah, we've talked about this before too. Yeah,
we thought it was going to be Mike, and then Greg came out, and we're like, who the fuck is this guy? And he just killed it. And talk about it's not easy to be the second or third singer.
No, man, no, not easy. Not an easy thing. It was. I remember that show because we were trying to figure out the way to like present him and for him to come out, and nobody had seen who it is or anything, and so he went in the crowd, and we played like the intro. I think we played some of Good Dogs before it was released.
Okay.
Like instrumental, and then we kicked into a song, a Dillinger song, and he just like ran up on stage from the crowd and grabbed the mic and started singing. So people were like, "What the fuck is this?" Like from the crowd, like.
Oh my God,
this dude just got on stage from the crowd, and he's their singer now.
I mean, he one of the most legendary pieces of footage out there was the infamous Virgin Megastore.
Yeah.
Stage dive when he just sort of head walked on all these people. They came back on. Well, actually, I have a quick one before we move on to the next question from one of the people here. But before he joined the band, he had sent a recording of himself doing his own take on 43% Burnt. Is that do you have that? Is that ever? I'm guessing that he didn't. Was it his own lyrics, or was he singing Demetri's lyrics?
He did one that was exactly like, pretty much like Demetri, and then he did one where he was kind of ad-libbing some just sounds and stuff. I feel like I might have it somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Not
but yeah,
or anything like that.
I doubt he'd want it out there. But there was some funny. Lucky for him, there really wasn't any good ones. There was really no. He was the one. That was for sure.
We got a question from 7th member of AIC, which I'm guessing stands for Alice in Chains, based on your question here. They want to know, what was it like working with William Duval on vocals?
Okay, so he is one of the most professional people I've ever worked with. He cares about his singing and his voice so much, which is, not something you're used to coming from a hardcore world. Dudes are in metal and hardcore and stuff. They're either like just running around, fucking around and screaming their ass off, or if they're into drugs, they're just like up all night partying and then getting on stage like without sleep. So being in a band with someone who doesn't talk all day before singing, like whispers, has a scarf around their neck, drinks tea all the time, warms up, warms down, like, it was really impressive, man. Really inspiring.
Yeah, no, he's he's another one. Like, speaking of trying to fill in shoes, man, like to fill the shoes of Lane Staley.
Oh man, yeah.
Yeah, I tell everybody.
I remember first seeing that, and I was like, whoa.
Yeah, no, I mean, but I always tell everybody, man, you got to check out those records. Black Gives, what is that? Black Gives Blue to Black, or I can't remember.
Black Gives Way to Blue or something.
But yeah, that album is amazing, and then the
yeah, that one.
Yeah, I mean, you guys should definitely check that out. Now let's see, what do we have here? All right, we already asked if there's going to be new music. Oh, favorite death metal bands. What are your favorite death metal bands?
Okay, go down the list, man. Morbid Angel, Deicide, Obituary. Man, there was like more rare, weird ones. Disharmonic Orchestra, Malevolent Creation. Dude, yeah.
There you go.
That's one.
Okay, this one is also a similar one to question to what I had from Panasonic Youth 04 wants to know, will there be a release of the final shows? I guess he's asking if there's going to be professional footage.
Yeah.
Out. There will be.
We have, I mean, actually Frank and his guys from Metal Injection, and we have a full board mix of all the shows and multi-angle video of everything. It's just so much to think about diving into at this point. Like, I mean, Greg and I didn't even talk one time for 8 months after that last show. Like, everyone just needed a break, So, thinking of like, going through and having everyone in the band approve and like what they did and which angles and all that stuff, it was just too much. But I think maybe, it's getting down to a time where I think maybe we could dive into that and crack into it and try to do something with it.
Those were some unbelievable shows. I was at all of them, and I'm so glad.
Thank you, by the way, for sharing those with us, for coming.
Absolutely, man. What was it? Somebody else wanted to know what it was like having everybody in the fam, like everybody, every member, just everybody there. What was it like?
Oh man, I mean, there were a few missing, but like, it was really amazing. It was really amazing. They're my best friends, and there's nobody who has more in common with me than them in the world. And I mean, especially like having Adam on stage, and Demetri and Benoit. I mean, it was great. It was great. And I knew it meant a lot to them. So for them to share in that special moment, instead of just being some different state somewhere, like being like, that was a band I used to be in, like to really end with the band as a major part of the band, as part of it, was really amazing. And I always say, like, I said this to Demetri. One day he said to me, I was in Europe with Dillinger, and he's like, man, it's so crazy that, like, you've done all this with Dillinger without me. Like, he's like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of jealous, you know? I'm so happy with what I did, but like, and I said to him, I was like, Dillinger Escape Plan is not one person or one time period. Dillinger Escape Plan is an entity. It's not me. It's not Greg. It's not Demetri. It's not any of these people. It's like, it's a fucking ecosystem, and it's like, it's like an entity to me, and all of it, all the time periods, all the lines, all that make this one thing that makes it important. And if you know, all of it equally makes the legend of Dillinger what it is. So to me, like, I really feel that way. So having everybody there, those guys there, sharing in it, really drove that home.
So cool that you got to do that too, because you know, I'm going back and comparing you guys in a weird way to like a band like Black Flag, for example. Like a band, they had 3 singers, they had 1 million different members, and Greg Ginn was sort of like the only guy that remained. But and you know, it's not often that bands who have members come and go can actually fucking get together like that, you know, with everybody. So it really was a special time, and just having been there, you could feel the love, you know. I mean, it was really cool, man. So I'm stoked for that to come out, for everyone to watch and relive that. Somebody was asking as well, and I kind of touched on this earlier, but is there any anticipated date for material with Demetri that we can talk about or anything like that, or is it kind of just...
Oh man, there's a bunch of stuff in the works for Party Smasher, you know, more Godmother, some stuff with Demetri, maybe some splits, maybe some 7-inches, but I can't give a date, especially now with what's going on in the world. Like, everything's at a halt, and getting together with people and playing and making music, and it's just impossible right now. So we'll see, you know.
And in a similar related topic, someone wanted to know if there's unreleased Dillinger material that is just laying around that people have not heard, that you know, maybe we'll see the light of.
There's so much stuff that I wrote with Billy that just never. I mean, there's some stuff that was like finished and maybe don't have vocals on it or don't have like finalized stuff on it, but I have folders and folders of cool ideas and songs and riffs and things that just may have ended up on a new Dillinger album, maybe could have been on the last one, that I've been listening to actually recently. Today I was listening to a bunch of it. I'm like, man, I really like to finish this. So I don't think it would be necessarily, you know, unreleased Dillinger, but in a way it's kind of like unrealized, unborn Dillinger, you know, like that gets birthed out into the world.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. I always.
My niece Chloe said hi, by the way. Hey, Chloe.
Chloe, okay.
Just saying, just what's up.
Right below Chloe, John Smur is asking both of us a question. What do you? I think we talked about this a little bit, but I'll let you go first. What are you both doing to stay sane at the moment with regard to isolation?
Oh well, man, I got so much to do. Like, I just excavated like 4 tons of poop out of my farm with a tractor, and the wheel fell off. So I'm trying to figure that out. We got to homeschool our kids, which is insane. It's like can't even do the math. It's 2nd grade. It's too hard for me. That takes time. I'm working on a ton of work, you know, musical and the management stuff. I'm working, you know, takes a lot of time, and even though, sorry.
Kimbra, you're managing Kimbra, right?
Yeah, I'm working with Kimbra. I'm working with Mrs. Smith. We just did that whole Kirk Hammett Wall-Off thing. And today's Kimbra's birthday, by the way, so happy birthday to Kimbra.
Happy birthday.
It's a lot of people I know's birthday today. They're all pains in my asses. Yeah, there's tons of work. There's so much to do. It's certainly nothing's. It's like another day in the office for me, other than my wife is in the healthcare industry, so that's a little stressful. And, you know, we miss the rest of our family because we're all isolated.
Yeah, no, I feel you. It's horrible. I'm not celebrating my father's birthday this weekend because of it, but I'm glad.
Uh,
This is one time when having these sort of social media and technologies actually is a good thing during a time
yeah,
like this. I mean,
exactly. Yeah.
and to answer your question, John, one of the reasons I started this interview series is because I'm trying to stay busy. Not that I work at Revolver, shameless plug, but so I work from home on the magazine and the website and the socials and do stuff. But I also am doing this because it's giving me people to talk to. I haven't seen a human being. I haven't had physical contact with a human being since March 15th. So
Whoa.
yeah, it's kind of rough. It's a little weird. I mean, I see human beings in the street if I go for a walk, but I haven't actually like shaken a person's hand or had physical human contact since March 15th.
Okay, this is what I
So
recommend. Get coronavirus. And then find the hottest chick with coronavirus and just like go to town, dude. Get in the room. Just do it, bro.
hey, I'm out
Fuck it.
here.
You're
Look me
young.
up at Chris
I'm pretty
Enriquez.
sure that would.
Hey, we're reaching the 4 minute mark and it kicks you off basically. So I'm just gonna do a quick thing
Ah,
here.
snap.
Yeah, if you're just tuning in right now and you missed this entire interview, it's going to be up for another 24 hours on the St. Vitus Instagram, and it'll be on my personal YouTube channel under Christopher Enriquez starting tomorrow if you want to watch the whole thing. But Ben, man, I'm really glad we got to connect and talk and shit. You got a guitar, dude. Like, want to do a little want to do a little
Yeah.
live?
Let's
Want
play
to
it
do a little
out.
outro? A little
Let's
outro
do it
here?
live. I don't have a pick. Oh well. There we go.
Love it. Fuck yeah.
All right.
Dude, thank you so much for doing this, man. Really
Thanks,
appreciate it.
man. Good to see
Yeah.
you and good to talk to all you guys. I wish we could. Yeah, thanks. That. Um, good to see all you guys. Thanks for your questions. Keep it real. Stay inside. Do some cool creative stuff, and we'll see you soon.
Yes. Ben, love you, man. I'll talk
Love
to you
you
soon.
too, Chris.
All right. Stay safe.
I hope
Regards
you
to
get some human contact soon.
I hope so too. Send my best to the family and the animals out there.
Thanks, man. Take it
All
easy.
right. Take care, brother. Guys, thanks for watching this episode of Age of Quarantine. That was super awesome. And we are going to be back here on Monday. Let me tell you, we're going to have the schedule posted up, but definitely want to keep. Oh, we're going to have Paul Bearer. Dave Castillo is going to be interviewing Joe Rowland from Paul Bearer. And let me just pull up the schedule here. That's on Monday, March 30th. I'm going to be interviewing Riley Gale from Power Trip on March 31st. On April 1st, I'll be back on here interviewing John Stanier, the original drummer of Helmet. He's also in Tomahawk and Battles. I cannot wait. Then I have on April 2nd, Hosoji from Helms Ali. That's going to be amazing. And then on April 3rd, Dave Castillo is going to be interviewing Ethan McCarthy of Primitive Man. I'm going to get kicked off in a second here. So thanks for watching, and stay safe out there. I love you guys. Follow me, Chris Enriquez Drums, at Instagram. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, Christopher Enriquez. Shout out to Drew Castle for the flyer. Thanks to Ralph Torres of the band Total Meltdown for the videos that we're posting on YouTube. You guys rule. Spread the word. Age of Quarantine, Monday through Friday, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to be doing interviews on my personal Instagram on the weekends as well. So fuck yeah. And check out my band Spotlights. We came out with a new record, We Are Atomic. Came out today. And yeah, that's it. No more shameless plugs. Love you all. Mwah. Goodbye.